I'm just wondering, with the situation, the unfortunate situation with places like LOTT, if there's any lesson you think can be taken away from the way things have worked out.
Sure. I think we as community service agencies need to do what we do best, which is not operating businesses in our case. We provide support for people, help them find employment. We employ people with disabilities ourselves. We need to be leaders in that area. We've had experiments where you try and run a business on behalf of, it's not in our wheelhouses. Much better to rely on the community. So to me, that was sort of, watching that sort of play out, you could sort of get the sense they did not have the capacity, the capital, the organizational structure to set up and run a competing business. I think that's a lesson that we've taken. And we consider this, as the province announced that sheltered workshops would phase out. There was the question internally, well, do we try and take this on ourselves? And very quickly we got to, that's not what we do, that's not what we should be doing, we're going to move away from that.
In our case, it's an interesting question because so I've been executive director for 6 years at Corbrook. When I took over, our sales from our contracts were depleting. I mean, we were bleeding to about, from, I think in the heyday 10, 15 years ago, from $1 million annually to about $125,000 annually. So we were in a similar position. They're expensive programs to run. We know that. I mean, this is a constant issue, right? So a lot of the dollars that were coming through the funding were going to run a losing operation. But we, as an organization, really looked at the model. And fortunately, we hired some great people to really turn that around for us. So today, we have a pretty strong social enterprise, a business. And I'll say it here, we have a trail mix business that's sold across Canada through TJ Maxx, Marshalls and Winners, HomeSense. We also have spices that are produced at Corbrook and sold across Canada. And that really turned our business around to where it's growing. So our board and the organization was sort of wondering what to do once the workshops came to an end. And so our goal has been to see how we can transition that into a for-profit business that will be part of the related business of the organization. The difference being that folks that are working there currently that are not being paid minimum wage will be paid minimum wage as long as they do the job, right? I mean, that's the key piece here. So the organization obviously, uses the dollars that are going to be coming from this to be able to compensate, to add and provide additional services that we will not be able to with the funding that we currently have.
I just want to mention something too, because Deepak brought up social enterprise, and first of all, hats off for the direction that your agency's moving in. But I think there's also a bit of a caution with social enterprise, because one of the things that I've noticed in traveling around Ontario and talking to some of the different agencies, there are a number of developmental service agencies in Ontario that over the last 3-4 years have been trying to figure out how they're going to make the transition, and have set up social enterprises and some small little businesses, and in thinking that by doing this that they might eventually be paying minimum wage, and we're not seeing a whole lot of evidence of that. As well, a lot of them aren't terribly inclusive. And a number of the agencies that I've talked to, although they were very well intentioned when they first set up these businesses, things like stores and restaurants and farms and such like that people would be gaining skills that they could then use to transition into a community job. But what some of them have been finding, the majority that I've talked to, is that people are now not moving out of these enterprises that originally were set up for the right reason to move people out. So I just think that there's a bit of a cautionary tale there.
Absolutely, and just to add to that, we completely agree. I think the difference though for us is that the enterprise is not about skill building anymore, it's about revenue generation for the organization, right? So I think that goal was, through the workshops, was to really build those skills and develop and ultimately lead into the community, which never really happened. The goal for us is that we know that the business is operating well. We have business people that have been hired to really develop the business and provide the numbers that we need to be able to make it successful. So absolutely, Bob, I concur, but I think for us, the goal is that those jobs there are jobs for people, and hopefully leads to other careers within the organization within those areas.
No, I mean, I agree. We've all sort of said that it's a fascinating time and an interesting time as things transition away from sheltered work into more meaningful, gainful employment. We're all supportive of that, and I think, and I've really appreciated sort of the approach the ministry has taken on this. At first, it's very gradual and thoughtful, and I think that's helped alleviate some fear that people might have around what's coming next. So we're happy to be part of that.
Can I? No, I found this very interesting today because this lady here, she moved from the sheltered workshop into the community and has been successful and is very good. And many of our guys, as I was looking at this film, many have talents, and you got to bring them out from where they were to where they should be in the right niche. And you will see things coming out of them. You thought, wow, I didn't know you had that in you. Yes, give them a chance. That's what it's about. Give them a chance.
Thank you. Thank you.